Hey everyone, it's Warriors NRL Fanatics here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. And tonight I've got a very special guest joining me, Sammy Hewitt from formerly known as SENZ. It's now known as Sports Nation New Zealand. And it's good to have Sam back on. Actually, it's good to see you again. It's been a while since we last discussed. I had a bit of a chat around all things Warriors and that, and it's always good to hear your insights and thoughts and. Yeah, you went over to Vegas. Obviously, that Vegas game was a game to forget, but we're gonna, discuss the game on the weekend. We're gonna review the Manly game, talk about the Manly game, and give our overall thoughts on the game. But how's it going, Sam? Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, good to talk to you again, man. It's feels like it's been a long off season, for us, but we're back into the swing of things now, and we'll try and leave Vegas in the rearview mirror. And I feel like the season started on Friday night, so we'll just forget round one, and we're 1-0.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely forget about that game because that game was a game that we don't want to be remembered, ever again. But I know that you went over to Vegas and you would have enjoyed the experience. Just a little bit on how the experience was, other than the game itself. How did you enjoy going over there? It was a bit of a fandom there. A lot of Warriors fans in Vegas. How was the trip there?
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I think. Yeah, I while I was over there, I sort of wasn't under the illusion or any illusion that people back home, it might not mean much to them. The fact that it's in Vegas, and we talk about growing the game over there and what that really looks like. But I think for the people that did travel, and us, even though we were working quite a lot, it was a real buzz around town. I haven't been to Vegas before that, but just walking down the strip. It was just rugby league jerseys basically the whole way down, so it really felt like a bit of an NRL takeover. And then we had this. I think it was on the Thursday night, the Fremont Street, which is sort of the old Las Vegas for people that don't know. And they decked that. That was basically the hub for the NRL. So that was sort of decked out with big sort of displays and all the team banners and stuff. And that's where they did the walk ups from the bus. All the players walked up to the stage, and that was just a really cool vibe. It's just, it really did feel like Magic Round, but in Las Vegas. So I sort of say to people, if you looked at Las Vegas and thought, that was really cool, I'd love to go there. Like, why not go to Magic Round? You sort of would get the same festival vibe. You get to watch a bit more rugby league as well, and it's probably not as expensive and not so far. So, and like I see Jacko's comment, like I fully admit, like people were sort of talking to us about, just being a junket for like media and fans to go over and have a good time, and probably to an extent it was, but like, I don't know why you'd be upset or annoyed at that. Like, it was a lot of fun. There was some awesome events on, some awesome sort of fan engagements. People had a great time. There's lots to do in Vegas. So I just, it was a fun trip, I think, for a lot of fans. And result aside, if it had been a win, it would have been just an awesome success. But I think for us, we sort of left a little bit deflated the following, couple of days. But it's good to be back home.
Yeah, and just hello to everyone in the chat. Hope everyone's doing well. So we'll say hello to Greg. How's it going, Greg? Good to see you in the chat. Hello to Jacko as well. Hello to Jason Reader up the Roosters. Yes, that was a very good win for the Roosters on the weekend. We got Tans, Jacko, and Rich as well. Yeah, so good to see you guys in the chat there. But yeah, look, after that game in Vegas, there was a lot of talk in the Warriors world, particularly around selections, particularly, and Webster stuck with the same side going into this match against the Manly Seagulls. Were you surprised by it? Like, a lot of Warriors fans, were all up in arms. We want changes. We want to see some drastic changes. I wanted to see some changes, but I didn't want to see all the players, go out. But Webby's always known for showing some loyalty to, players. He's done that last year. He's done that the previous years when he's coached us. So were you surprised going into the game that Webster didn't make any changes whatsoever? Like none? Or just when he stuck to the side?
No, I wouldn't say surprised. I mean, I'm not going to sort of sit here and all in hindsight, but like I don't know. I think it was an overreaction, to one game, and that applies to basically all the games across the NRL. Teams that fans were blowing up teams already after one round, and talking about sort of premiership favourites when it's one game, and We've seen even teams like the Broncos, 50 points in the first round and then absolutely embarrassed in the second round. Like it's the NRL. This is what happens. I think if you're Andrew Webster, you train an entire preseason, with combinations and with a 17 in your head, and you develop those through the preseason and through the trials as well. You experiment. I don't think you just play one NRL game and then say, okay, we need to make all these changes. I think you have to give it time to blend and work together before you start to make those sorts of calls. I feel like the overwhelming sense post that first round loss, from like talking with players and talking with former players and analysts and that sort of thing, was just that it wasn't what that team was capable of, and they needed to be given a chance to show us what they are capable of. And you look at a team like Parramatta, who I think are dead set wooden spooners. That's a team that even when they quote unquote are playing their best football, they're probably still not a good enough team. Whereas the Warriors, we just know, did not perform on the day. And so I felt like they needed a second chance. And on Friday, they showed us what they are capable of. And that is the Warriors that we should be expecting this year. And that might not be a Warriors team on Friday that beats a Melbourne Storm or a Penrith or whatever, but it's a team, if they play like that, can make the top 8. So, I was happy for that team to stay as is, and good to see. I wanted to see Luke have another try and have another go and see with, not, I wouldn't say the pressure, but with the feeling that he needed to be better, what that would do to him. And I think he stood up big time. So, I was pretty happy with the team, and obviously it all worked out. So, happy days.
Yeah, so of course, going into this game, we took on a Manly side, had a great win over the Cowboys the previous week. And I don't know how you felt about it, because there was a lot of excitement over Manly going into this game. The Warriors were, considered massive underdogs at home. And the Seagulls, they played great against the Cowboys, but does that show that the Cowboys were, very poor, or does it show that Manly were that great? Because, obviously the start of this game, I don't know how you felt going into it, because the way we started, we saw Manly get off to a flying start, probably for the first 6 minutes, I'll say. From watching it back, I felt like they probably were the dominant side for the first 6 minutes, and then, they scored that first try. I think it was Tommy Trbojevic that scored the first try for the Seagulls. And they went over to score, and it was 4-0 early on. So what did you make out of that, start for Manly? Because we know Manly are a high scoring, they're really high scoring team. I love that. They've got a lot of pace out wide in their wingers, the fullback, Tommy, and you got, their halves of Cherry Evans, their 4-pack's strong as well. So, what did you think of Manly's, first try? Because it was a quick try off the blocks, and I think defensively, we probably could have done a lot better there to not concede that try, I felt. But how did you feel about that try? Were you a bit worried early on, or were you just thinking, look, if we can regroup from here, there was still a chance to, win the game? Or how did you feel first when they scored first?
Yeah. Well, probably very worried because you see what Manly did the week before, and given what we had just up against the Raiders, and then for that to happen in the first couple of minutes, you're thinking, oh, here we go. It's just going to be the same story all over again. Like Manly, when you look at the Manly team, and I feel like this is Manly almost every year, and then things seem to derail, or injuries or whatever. But the team on paper, it ticks all the boxes, right, for a premiership team. It has a good halves combo with a very, very dominant kicker in Daly Cherry Evans. That's got a superstar fullback. It's got speedy outside backs. Stars like Ruben Garrick and Jason Saab. It has big forwards and a strong pack. It sort of ticks all the boxes that you would think would lead them towards, I guess, winning a premiership. One thing that I think is really fascinating, and this is, obviously my co-workers with Blake Ashford and Anthony Gelling say the same thing about Manly, and that's sometimes they're guilty of finding what works for them, but not sticking with it and thinking they need to mix things up. And so example was in that Warriors game, they were tormenting that right edge early on. Our left edge, their right edge. They were tormenting that early on and getting results, right? Roger was getting caught out of position. And make no mistake, that first try was was all on Roger. You're on halfway. You don't need to jam in on halfway. You've got all the space to the try line to retreat if a player beats you. If you jam in, all of a sudden you're leaving a 2-on-1 for a fullback, and it's an easy meter. So that's an on Roger. Doesn't need to do that on halfway. But Manly, every time they wanted to try and attack that edge, they seemed to sort of have success. So, but then they stopped doing it. They started trying to go back up through the middle, and they tried to go down the other side, and it just seemed bizarre that was where all their attack was coming from. Yet they didn't want to exploit it more. And then as soon as Daly Cherry Evans and Tommy Trbojevic get injured, I mean, it only takes one of them probably to go down to really affect that group. But for both of them to go off, well, that was, I guess, sort of curtains. But I was worried after 3 minutes. I thought, here we go. This could be the story of the night. But that is, I think, the real credit of the Warriors is that they were able to bounce back from that. And we've talked about this before, Christian. Like, how many times in years gone by would a Warriors team have let that derail the game? Like, it's credit to them for sticking in it and fighting back. And then there was a key play, I think, a couple of minutes later where Luke Metcalf sort of got burned on the outside, and Hopoate tried to pass it back infield. And because Luke had retreated, strong, he forced Hopoate to have to throw a speculator over the top, which ended up going forward. And you think, had they scored there, that's 12-0 after 5 to 10 minutes, and we can go into a hole. But instead, forward pass was called. We go down the other end, we score, and suddenly it's game on. So little moments like that, I think, were huge as well. But yeah, definitely right off the bat, I will admit I was a little worried, and I may, going into the game, have sort of thought, man, we might have won as well. So,
yeah, I was like, I know going into this game wasn't cool. I know a lot of Warriors fans probably weren't as confident going into it based on, of course, round one. You don't blame fans for maybe feeling a little bit less confident coming up against a Manly side, and Jazz up against his former side and that, and maybe a potential of him having a big game against his former team. So so just on, actually looking at the comments, and Tarns has made a comment here. Boys were solid at cutting the ties between DCE and Turbo. That was a huge worry for me. But the boys did a great job at stopping their attacking momentum, and they imploded. So, look, we definitely did. We definitely frustrated the likes of Cherry Evans and Tommy Trbojevic. And even though he scored that one try, he didn't have his greatest game, I felt. No, he made a lot of errors early on, and it wasn't quite, the usual, you expect from Tommy. And then DCE had that injury as well, which was had a big concern for them. So, yeah, the attack from the Seagulls, look, I think we stopped majority of the, key plays. I think that was a feeling I was a bit worried about going into this game, was how do you stop the likes of your DCEs, Turbos, Garricks, all those players, Hamole, Olakauatus, their forwards especially, and I think Bullymore as well off the bench, didn't have quite the impact that he had against the Cowboys. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that comment there that Tarns made in regards to we stopped the likes of your Cherry Evans and Turbos from having a much of an impact?
Yeah, well, I think sometimes we can, I guess, overcomplicate things in terms of how we were able to shut things down. But at the end of the day, we just made tackles, right? I think we ended up giving up five tackle breaks or something. It was some ridiculous stat at halftime that we had basically given up no tackle breaks. And that is just good defense. That's good tackling. It's strong tackling. Guys like Olakauatu, that guy breaks tackles for fun against any other team in the NRL. And, we basically nullified him completely. We wrapped up the ball, so we didn't allow the offloads like we did against the Raiders, because I think teams can see that now that, they're able to tire us out by second phase play. So I think there's just something to be said for all the analysis you do of, defensive structures and how you shut down an opposition, just making your tackles and not missing them and wrapping the ball up and winning the ruck is, it goes a long way to helping us win. So, and we did that. And I think, a part of it too was the bench rotation was a lot better this time around from Webby. And I think that energy that was injected at certain parts of the game helped to nullify their bigger threats. I felt like against the Raiders, we didn't get that right. And that was where they were able to expose us a little bit. So, I think just all around defensively I know we scored some points, which was great, but I think defensively it was almost more impressive. And, a Jason Saab try that was controversial. Did he put it down? Did he not put it down? And the Ruben Garrick one on the line. Yeah, those ones are always funny because if it goes up as a no try, it stays a no try because the evidence isn't conclusive. So you look at those two tries and you think, man, other than that, that first try in the 3rd minute was relatively blemish free. So yeah, super impressed with the defensive side. I think more than anything else.
Yeah, and Jackie's actually made a good point there in regards to that bench rotation, which was, heavily criticised in round 1 against the Raiders in Vegas, which I think, which is fair enough because I was questioning it too, like the fact that Webby didn't quite use his bench as well as he should have, and look, he did it this time, which is fair. Jacko's just saying your bench use was a much better. And which helped a lot, because you didn't give certain players longer minutes, certain players, not enough minutes. So you already covered on it that you felt that his bench rotations were a lot better. So just also going through this comment. So Mikhail saying here, I thought Manly would have won that game, but I was not surprised by the Warriors. They're capable of beating anyone, especially in Auckland. And to Michael, hello to Michael in the chat, who's a Manly fan. Says congratulations to your was against my team Manly. And Tahi's just saying, I love the fact that Captain Fisher Harris made a statement and the team lived up to it. Yeah, he definitely was a lot better, Fisher Harris, in this game. A lot better for the run. And I felt like our forward pack was a lot more impactful, especially Aaron Clark. What did you make of Aaron Clark? I thought he was our best. I think he was our best, pretty much our best forward on the field. I thought. There's a few standouts, but I think Aaron Clark was our best forward in that lock position. I think lock is really where he should be starting each week. I was surprised that he wasn't starting in round 1 against the Raiders in Vegas. I was surprised that Webby moved him out and put him to the bench, and he put Barnett to lock. What do you make out of Aaron Clark's performance? I thought Aaron was outstanding.
Yeah, he I watching him in the trials, just really impressed with. I was, a question mark over how he would sort of blend in and where he would play and how he would play. But then in the trials, saw a lot, and then was surprised that he wasn't starting in round 1, given what we had seen. And I think once again, that's something that Webby might look back on and say that there was a bit of a mistake. But yeah, it's really impressed with him on Friday night, like you said. Arguably one of the best on the park. Man, he just runs the ball so hard, and he's not, the biggest body. But, what we've sort of seen with the NRL in recent times is you want the lock to essentially be a ball player. Very few of them now aren't actually guys that can't play with the ball. And I think Aaron's a great ball player. He runs to the line deep. He sucks in defenders. He's got quick feet and, some good hits as well in defense. So, I thought he had a fantastic game. And just going back to that bench rotation too, it's funny when when James Fisher-Harris was coming off for sort of his first spell and Mitch Barnett came off with him. And I thought, oh, no, they're doing it again. They're pulling them both off at the same time. And then as Mitch got to the sideline, there was the walkie-talkie down from up top saying, keep Mitch on. And so Mitch went back out. And I thought, thank goodness. And, I just think it's important to have one of the two out there, at any given time, not just for you because they're your captains and they're your leaders, but because of, what they bring, from a sort of impact point of view. But then, we got Dills, I think, had a great game coming on too. And it's great that he can ball play and he can play multiple positions. So, yeah, it's I take that point about, we can beat anyone on any given day. I said this at the start of the season. You go through the Warriors team on paper and like Manly, it ticks a lot of boxes. It's just the question is, can you do it for an entire season? Can you do it week to week? Can you back up good performances? Can you stay consistent? Because that is, probably the biggest challenge. And we've seen it with the Broncos who weren't able to do it. We've seen it with other like the Manly weren't able to do it. And it's going to be really interesting this week. Can the Roosters back up that from Penrith? Can the Raiders keep it going? It's these are all the question marks you have early season. Is how much of it is, just one or two good games versus being able to do it regularly for the 27 weeks. So, yeah.
Yeah, and look, I think first half, to come back from that 4-0, 6-0 when Garrick got a penalty goal. I was a bit surprised actually that they went for a penalty goal because they definitely thought. I definitely thought they had us under a bit of the wraps there, and maybe it was just a bit of a a bit of show of respect to the Warriors. I think defensively because they probably felt like they just needed the points. So yeah, were you maybe surprised by that fact that they went for the two instead of going for the try because it was only 4-0 at that stage. So.
Yeah, I was in the commentary box at Aish. I said, as we got the penalty, I said, oh, well, here they're going to take the quick tap and they'll go at them again. Like, I just thought that's exactly what they do. And Aish said, I think they're going for the kick. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. But, yeah, I think, interesting call because, like you mentioned, they sort of did have us on the ropes. But, yeah, I don't know whether they thought it was going to be tight, regardless. I mean, typically the games between us and Manly have been tight. So, maybe that was in the back of their head, but it's crazy now. I think it's been something like 8 or 9 years since Manly have won at Mount Smart, so it's not a happy hunting ground for them.
Yeah, and just going through the comments. So yeah, the change of guard from previous captains to current captains before the game was a nice touch. Yeah, that was an awesome touch to see. The Tohu Harisi, they were doing something for him. Obviously, being that he retired at the start of the season, so that was pretty awesome there. And Naz is just saying in regards to height, Aaron's not that big. He's definitely not a big guy. He's definitely not a big guy. It's like Jazz, they're really similar the way they play. I feel like so. Yeah, he does very well from how he plays, especially in that role. Jacko's just saying, Rocco looked great in the cup. He could be back this week. Yeah, what do you think there? Did you catch the New South Wales Cup game? Because I watched that live and Rocco looked great. It was if it was second game back in the New South Wales Cup, he played a full game as well, which was good to see. And it's got a few standouts in that cup side, especially like Tamari Martin, Tana Boyd, Laban. Jacob Laban as well, who I still think should be in at least in that first grade side from what I've seen. So, yeah, did you catch much of that New South Wales Cup game? And yeah, what did you think? What do you think about Rocco maybe potentially getting back into the side, maybe this week or maybe in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, like I got there a little bit early on Friday night, so managed to watch most of the cup game. And yeah, like you said, lots of individuals standing out in that game, which was awesome. I mean, like I am a big Rocco Berry fan. I think he is someone who not necessarily gets noticed, but like you only have to go back to Dallin, breaking the record for tries, and it was Rocco inside him doing a lot of the distribution. Great defensively as well. Always love him on the kick chase too. So, but then do we get rid of Pompey? Does Ali Leatoa go back into reserve grade? To sort of slow down his progression. That's probably a big question. Personally, I probably would move Pompey, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's another week for Rocco just to get a few more minutes under his belt. And like I know we've got that early bye as well, so that might be a chance to, if guys get injured, it's a chance to sort of shuffle things around afterwards, depending on the health of other players. So yeah, I'd probably be inclined to wait another week. Especially, a team that got a good win against Manly, why not run it out again and see what it does against Sydney before, you then maybe start to tweak things a little bit. You'd have 3 games under your belt. So, but yeah, great game from Rocco in that cup. And yeah, like I thought Sam Healy as well was fantastic. Like it's really exciting. There's a lot of really good guys underneath that are almost first grade ready or have played first grade before, that's awesome for a cup team. It's not like you've got a whole bunch of guys in your cup team that have never played NRL before. You just got a whole bunch of guys there who can come up and down at basically any point, and you feel somewhat confident with them. So it's a great sign, yeah.
Yeah, the New South Wales team is very stacked. A lot of talent in that side. Sam Healy is another one who's really standing out. He's just come over from Oz, over from the Newtown Jets. Yeah, and he played well in the trials as well. It was good in the preseason trials. He really stood out, and there's always an opportunity or a chance. If he ever gets it, he could be in the first grade side, maybe on the bench at some point during the season. Look, I sort of would love to see him now in the first grade side, but at the moment probably not likely at the moment. But he's a very talented. He's a really talented player, Sam Healy.
Well, that's a question for everyone here, and like people can give us their thoughts on the chat of how long do we play Wade Egan for 80 minutes? Because I don't think that's sustainable. I don't think there's not many hookers in the NRL that will play a full 80 minutes for the entire season. So at some point you're going to have. Personally, I prefer specialty hookers on the bench as opposed to just having guys that cover 4 or 5 positions. Like, it is handy that you've got Dylan Walker and you've got Aaron Clark, etc., to play a hooking role if need be. But I'd rather those guys play, front row minutes or lock minutes, whatever. So, I like the idea of maybe at some point bringing Sam in to just let Wade, sort of go that 65-minute mark, just give him a little spell in the middle. And start to develop him. And I think it's a great way to develop a young hooker too, is just to give them those little 15-minute stretches where they can go out and just go absolutely nuts for 15 minutes, and then sort of have a spell. But at the same time, he's getting big minutes in New South Wales Cup. Like, is that better for his development? That's probably the question that we'll be asking in a couple of weeks' time. I just don't think Wade's going to be playing 80 minutes every week for the entire season. So.
Yeah, I think so. I said at the start of the season, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we had someone like a Sam Healy off the bench for a bit of coverage there, because Egan, like, playing full 80 minutes each week, I don't think that's going to be really sustainable for a whole season. He could play a full 80 minutes, could prove me wrong. But obviously last year, he had a few knocks and injuries, and that's the thing. I'm a little bit worried and concerned if that does eventually happen. It hasn't happened so far, but it could happen. So you don't want it to, but there's always a bit of a concern and worry that it could happen at some point. And
you don't want Wade to get in a position where, like, let's say we do persist with him playing 80 minutes, and by the time you get to round 5 or 6, he goes down with something, and all of a sudden you're pulling a guy like Sam in, without having played in the NRL that year. I'd rather just have a few minutes under their belt in case something like that happens, that you're more confident for them to step in, like Freddie did last year. He was coming off the bench and then got a couple of shots when guys went injured. So, yeah, I don't mind it for now because it's early season and, bodies are fit, etc. But I think at some stage need to make that call of, Wade's not playing 80. I'd like to have a specialist hooker on the bench to, like, take those minutes, when he's off.
Yeah. Jacko's just saying here, left field prediction, Healy slowly takes over from a busted up Egan later in the season is what he's saying here. So, yeah, what do you think on that one? Because I personally think he's probably our next hooker once Egan decides, if he wants to end his career. Like, I think Egan's still got a few years left in him, but I do feel like Healy maybe the next it's probably our next best option at hooker, and I think I'll see him stay in the future. Do you agree on that one, or?
I definitely think he's the future, but I mean, Jacko, I don't want to wish that on Wade Egan. I don't want him to be busted up towards the end of the season, but yeah, I think it's if that is the way it goes, if Wade does go down injured, then that I think is the way that's going to fall. So I think it's a particularly left field prediction, other than Wade's going to get injured and not be able to play. That's the thing, we're going to get injuries. Like, every team gets injuries every year. That's just a fait accompli. But I'm way more confident now with the way we're going to be able to pull guys in than almost ever have been in the past. But I still don't think, and someone mentioned in the chat about not playing the full 80 minutes. I still think there's a lot the Warriors need to work on from Friday night. And I said, it's a game, it's a performance that'll beat Manly and it'll beat a lot of teams, but will it beat Penrith? Will it beat Melbourne? And the answer to that is probably not. So we might be a couple of steps off the pace, but as I've always said, we got to be patient. This club is still rebuilding after 3 COVID years where the club was basically decimated with no junior teams, no reserve grade team, and guys living in Australia for 2 years and losing a lot of players to compassionate consideration, etc. We're still we're year 3 of that recovery, which is not a long time. So we still need to have an element of patience. That this team might win a premiership this year, but if we're building towards all these exciting guys that we're talking about being NRL ready in 2 or 3 years, then the future is very bright, and we will be in a position maybe then to challenge for grand finals on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's well said, because this year's obviously, like, expectations to the season ain't as high as they were last year. A lot of fans had big expectations, and they were deserved because they made the top four the previous year and had a great season. But yeah, look, I think throughout that game, I felt like we did pretty much. I think we did everything right, but there's still some things that we need to work on. Definitely an attack as well that could definitely improve. Yeah, what were your thoughts on what are your thoughts quickly on that second half? How do you think that second half went? Because first half was great. It was 18-6, I think it was, at halftime. 18-6 there. And then Manly had to come out and they scored the first try in the second half. And the try with Jason Saab, I don't know what your thoughts on that one was, because look, in the commentary on Fox League, they were, I think Vossi was and Blocker Roach were going on about, I don't know about that one, it looked like he didn't ground it, and they were going on about Manly being offside for a lot of the game, especially Vossi as well, which I agree. Manly definitely were offside for a majority of that game, and they got away with it a couple of times. Jakey Trbojevic got sent to the bin as well. Yeah, what were your thoughts on that second half? How do you think it all went out? Because we came out there and, look, I was a bit worried that maybe we could get a little bit conservative with the lead we had at 18-6. They scored, and they looked like they were making a bit of a comeback. A few controversial calls, which I think were, especially that Cherry Evans try. Yeah, that Cherry Evans try. I got to say that was a no try. That was easily a no try because Garrick's foot touched the line, but the bunker didn't even have a look at it. It didn't even have a quick look at it to see where. I thought they would, but I thought that was a no try. It don't look like his foot was still in the infield play, and they gave it a try. So, what are your thoughts on some of those calls? Because those calls could have easily impacted the game. Luckily, they didn't. The crowd wasn't impressed as well. You can hear the booing and going off with the Warriors fans, and that's what you love about the Warriors supporters. They're fully into it and passionate. But yeah, what were your thoughts on it from watching it in the box? Like, how did you feel with that second half and some of those 50-50, some of those controversial decisions that went Manly's way?
Well, it's difficult from where we sit. I mean, I don't have great eyesight anyway, Christian, but from where we sit, you don't quite see, every sort of minute detail of the big screen. I probably, I'm not as, I guess, sold on the Saab one, because you sort of, I know it's hard in rugby league. It's sort of like you're looking for clear separation. It's like how much, like what is sort of control? Because I felt like he still had it in his grasp. It was just loose. But then the Garrick one, so I can debate that one all day. But the Garrick one, I felt like it's a 50-50 call. Whatever the ref went upstairs with was going to get stuck to, because the conclusive, like the camera just wasn't conclusive. And I know for some people it looks like it's on the line, and for other people it may not. But I just think unless you can categorically say yes, unless it's so conclusive, then you just have to stick with what the referee thought. And it's a shame that he went up as a try, because 9 times out of 10 they go up as a no try, and then the bunker will reverse it if they have to. But I wasn't as annoyed about that. I think the key thing in all of it is like how many times have I done this with you, or when we're on air with Sport Nation, like how many times have we talked about a Warriors loss with controversial decisions, and that sometimes being the difference between them winning and losing, and just being frustrated that decided the result. I'm just so glad that the Warriors didn't let that get to them. They didn't let those calls rattle them, amongst a couple of other calls as well. They didn't, it didn't let it derail the game, and they were able to stay in it and keep pressing on. And that was really, really pleasing. And also, I'm stoked that post-game, yes, it's a talking point, but it's not something that we're all sitting here saying, the Warriors were dudded out of a result because of that. And that's a much better place to be in.
Yeah, and look, overall, we did very well, to continue to respond from that one. But yeah, I think, Sam, I think you've got to obviously wrap it up. You've got to go. So, just last thing, what is your overall take out of the game? What are your thoughts, and how do you feel now leading into that game coming up against the Roosters this week?
Well, I mean, I guess I touched on it before a little bit in terms of like the being patient thing with the fans, and I guess it's part of fandom and it's part of being part of this Warriors community that, after that first round game, everyone's so passionate about it. They want changes and, it's doom and gloom and everything's bad. I think you have to just sort of sit down and ask yourself a couple of key questions. And the first one is, when you look through that Warriors roster from, 1 through to 30, or when it's named on a Tuesday, 1 to 17, is that a team on paper that can win a premiership this year? And for me, it's not. And that's based on the other rosters around the NRL. And so then you're looking at it and say, okay, is it a top 8 team? And I think, yep, it can definitely be a top 8 team, but probably in the sort of 7 to 8 position. Now, if you finish 7th or 8th on the NRL ladder, more times than not, you're a just above 500 team. Like the Knights last year were essentially a 500 team, which, they win half their games, they lose half their games. And if that's the case, like, you have to be prepared for the Warriors to win 2 out of 5 and then win 3 out of 5, in those sort of blocks. And in that regard, they're going to lose games. They're going to drop games. There's going to be poor performances because this is not a premiership winning team. This is a borderline top 8 team. So I think people need to keep those expectations realistic. I always said going into the season that my biggest excitement was more around our development of these young guys, the Leka Halasimas, the Dimitri Vamungas, the Ali Leatoas, the Sam Healey's. That's where my excitement lies in the season, watching those boys get to run out, and performances like Friday night, which are going to happen in amongst, some of the duds too. But this is a club and a team that is building, almost from the ground up, that is trying to reinvent how it develops players and junior systems and rugby league across the country and New Zealand growing. And that's going to take time. So we got to be patient. Will we win against the Roosters this weekend? Yeah, I think we can. We definitely can, and I hope we do. But if we don't, I'm not going to be going back to get rid of Webster, get rid of this player, change this thing, because I don't think that's healthy to what the club's trying to achieve over the next 3 to 5 years. And there are a lot of fans out there who understand that, but there are also a lot who want instant success. And I'm sorry, in a salary cap competition, that's just not how it works. Penrith did not turn around overnight and win 4 titles. It took them 7 years, essentially, from the start to make that happen. Look at the Bulldogs. If they were able to sort of push on this year, maybe their premiership challenges in another 2 or 3 years, you'll look back and say that was a 5 to 7 year plan. So it isn't an instantaneous turnaround. It's so easy to think that it's possible because of what Melbourne does every year, where they're always competitive and it doesn't matter. But, that is the extreme exception to the rule. And there will be a day where Melbourne doesn't have that, I believe. Maybe it's when Craig Bellamy goes, but there will be a day where that doesn't happen. Be a bit more positive, even if the result doesn't go away on Friday night. You're more than welcome. Everyone's welcome to an opinion. And, if you think that so-and-so shouldn't be playing there, like, by all means, let's debate it. But at the same time, let's not throw everything out, the baby with the bathwater. Should we lose a couple of games, given that this is a long season and it's a long plan that's only just sort of in year 3 of taking shape? So that's how I sit. That's how I feel. We're 1-1. It feels like we are a 1-1 team. And if we go 2-1 this Friday, I'll be absolutely stoked. If we're 1-2, then I'll look forward to bouncing back the next week and making it 2-2. And it's going to be a roller coaster, as it always is, mate. But keep showing up to the. We don't want to lose that real, I guess, engaged experience that we've created at Mount Smart. And the crowds to sort of dwindle. We want to keep it up high and keep it bright and live for those games like Manly that really get you off your seat. And that'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a fun season.
Well said there, Sam. And absolutely agree. I do echo the similar thoughts to you there in regards to being a bit patient, of course, and obviously this year is a I feel like it's sort of like a rebuild sort of season. I know some people hate.
Yeah, that's the other thing, Christian. Just quickly, that's the other thing. You remember, like, after round 1, and people were, just absolutely teeing off. And it's like, you got to remember, we lost a halfback that was with us for the best part of 15 years, bar a couple at the Sharks, but a number 7 that had a monopoly on that jersey for a number of years. We lost our captain and, a real cultural leader in Tohu Harris. And we lost our best prop and the best prop in the game in Adam Fanor-Blake. Not to mention, Marcelo Montoya, if you want to throw another name in the hat. So you don't just lose those guys and be totally fine the next year. That has an impact. So, all those sorts of things people need to just keep top of mind and keep coming back to. When you're feeling like it's getting away from you and you're a bit emotional, sort of come back to that, because you do lose sight of it sometimes. Midway through the season, things aren't going well. You do lose sight of those expectations you had at the start and the thoughts and feelings that you had. So, yeah, keep the faith.
Yeah. Exactly right. And it's the roller coaster being a Warriors fan. Win, lose or draw, the highs and lows. We always riding through them every year, and that's what we're going to be doing throughout the season as well. So yeah, Sam, just really appreciate you coming on and giving your thoughts on the game, and it's always great to hear your insights in that. And big shout out to the work you do there at Sports Nation. Now it's called Sports Nation. So you guys have made a bit of a rebrand change from the old SENZ. So yeah, keep up the good work. I really love what you're doing with the with the running it straight. I always listen to it every week. The podcast, especially on Apple. So yeah, I always enjoy that. So yeah, I will be actually carrying on and doing the review on my own, because Sam has to go. But yeah, I do like to thank Sam for coming on. It's really appreciated.
No, thanks, man. Always a pleasure, anytime. And yeah, thanks to everyone out there who's listening and joining in as well. It's it's been fun. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Sam, for coming on. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, go and make sure you do follow all their platforms, the SENZ forming the Sports Nation, as it's now known as. I've got to remember to say that now, because it's not SENZ anymore. So I'm still stuck on the SENZ thing. So yeah,
it happens to all of us, mate, even us who work there. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right, cheers,
guys.
Sam. Cheers. But yeah, guys, thanks to Sam for coming on. Really do appreciate it. But I'm gonna continue on and go through the review. So I'm not quite finished yet, guys. So go through the stats, some of the standout players in their stats as well, and yeah, go through the player ratings as well for the game. So so just my overall take on the game as a whole. I thought we played we played well enough to get the result at the end of the day. I think our forwards especially were, we physically muscled up. We aimed up. Big shout out to, the likes of your Aaron Clarks, Egan's as well. They played well. Luke Metcalf as well. There's so much people doubting Luke Metcalf for one game in the 7. People said he wasn't the 7 going forward after one bad game. And I thought, that was a complete overreaction as well. So it was good to see, Luke Metcalf out there and play very well in the form. And look, I had so much faith that he is going to be our 7. For the rest of the season, he is going to really own that role, and it's only going to get better. Like, he wasn't perfect, but he was a lot better, right? And he's going to get better each week. So, yeah. Look, I thought it was a great win. I'm very, very happy with the performance. Not the best, but it was good to get the result because we needed the win. We couldn't afford to go, we couldn't afford to go 0-3 to start the season. I felt, we need to continue on winning. We need to get this win at home in front of the home fans, and we were able to do that. So, yeah, very proud of the effort, proud of the performance as a whole. We did what we needed to do, and no doubt about it, we weren't perfect. We can get better, and we can definitely step it up this week against the Roosters. So, so just going into the chat, Jacko saying here, you'll see him play for the Dogs, Nags. He's going great. Naz is also saying Montoya's gone respectively. Tahi Bros as well, and Christian, appreciate that. And Greg is saying, yeah, agree, keep the faith. Jacko is saying, let's not accept mediocrity through this team is good enough to sneak into the finals. Yeah, look, we definitely are good enough, Jacko. We definitely are for sure. Look, if we played all our best, we can definitely be a finals team. But look, 1-1 record. Is let's hope we can make it 2 wins from 1 loss on the weekend against the Roosters. And Tahi Bros saying step 1 is develop all the junior systems up and running with the same and a similar system. Absolutely, definitely, it's all about that for sure. Jacko's saying here Mick was good and CHT was outstanding. A very good house combination forming. Exactly. I think they were a lot better for the run in Vegas for sure. They definitely stepped it up a lot more, especially CHT as well, who, look, obviously didn't play his best in round one, but definitely showed up and played particularly well against the Seagulls there. So yeah, looking at the stats, so just go through the game stats for this one. So game stats: possession Warriors 54%, Manly Seagulls 46%. So time and possession Warriors 28 minutes 27 seconds, Seagulls 24 minutes and 3 seconds, with a completion rate of the Warriors 91%, 43 from 47. The Seagulls were 72% at 26 from 36 sets. Now, all running meters, Warriors 1,648 with the Seagulls 1,349. Post contact meters, Warriors 531 to the Seagulls 421. Line breaks, Warriors made 5 line breaks and the Manly Seagulls made 5, with the tackle breaks at 39 to the Warriors. So 39 tackle breaks there in total. And the Seagulls were at 16 tackle breaks. So very high number of tackle breaks the Warriors made throughout this game. Now, average set distance, Warriors 35.06. Manly made 37.49 in the average set distance. Now, kick return meters, Warriors 117, Seagulls 189, with the average playable speed of 3.67 seconds. As for the Seagulls, they made 3.93 seconds there, so the Warriors' quick play the ball speed was a lot better. Offloads, Warriors actually made 7 offloads in this game, with the Seagulls at 3. Kick meters, so 614 to the Warriors, and the Seagulls made 592, with the forced goal line dropouts. Warriors and Seagulls were at 1 each. Tackles made, 313 to the Warriors, with the Seagulls at 362. Now, missed tackles is a massive one for the Seagulls, and the Warriors only missed 16 tackles throughout this game. So that is a great effort. Good to see. There's a stark contrast to round one against the Raiders, where we missed a bunch of tackles, and that is why we conceded so many points. So it's good to see the defensive side of the game a lot better, showing against a very potent Manly side. Now, the Seagulls missed 39 tackles, so that pretty much sums up why the Seagulls, lost this game, really, to be quite honest. But 39 missed tackles for Manly is quite a high number there, and we only missed 16, which is great to see that we were able to muscle up and physically, outwork the Seagulls and really frustrate them, the likes of Cherry Evans, the likes of Tommy Trbojevic, were less impactful. And also the Seagulls forwards as well. They didn't quite have the actual punch throughout this game, I thought, in my opinion. So, yeah, errors. Warriors made 6 and Manly made 12 errors. So that's quite a lot of errors for the Seagulls. And then the penalties conceded. The Warriors actually only conceded 4 penalties. Manly conceded 5, where I felt like they should probably concede a lot more than that, to be quite honest. And then Manly made 7 ruck infringements. Now, 7 ruck infringements for the Seagulls throughout this game. Like I felt throughout this whole game that Manly did, really push the boundaries with a lot of those calls there. So that's the thing. So, yeah, Tahi's just saying it was a nice display from our 4-pack and a good team effort. It definitely was, and the 4-pack really needed to step up. And I felt they did. The likes of Fisher Harris's, Barnett's, Niokore actually played a lot better, although I still think that Laban should get the spot over Niokore, in my opinion. I think Laban should get the starting spot personally, but Niokore did a lot better. Barnett as well. Fisher Harris played much longer minutes, especially, which is really important moving forward. You can't have both of them off at the same time. At least one of them off and one of them on. We see how much of an impact they can bring. Aaron Clark was our best forward, I think, for me, by far on the field. Especially, I like what the likes of Tane did as well, scoring that great try as well. Individual brilliance, Barnett, Clark, and also I thought Roger was great as well, scoring a try. Egan, I thought, was, for me, probably my man of the match throughout this game. So, Yeah, Jacko's just saying here, yeah, Metcalf was good and CHT was standing a very good Hobbs combination performing, which was a real positive. And they definitely were. They definitely were. And CHT and Metcalf, there was a lot of talking point amongst the Warriors fans throughout this game. How were they going to respond after that round one clash against the Raiders in Vegas? And they responded very well, especially CHT and Metcalf as a combination. But look, it was great to see that those two were able to play so well together as well. So yes. Naz Williams is saying that 16 missed tackles is still not good. Yeah, it's not good enough, isn't it, Naz? We need to be less than that. But look, in all seriousness, 16 missed tackles is not too bad. It's not too bad. It could be worse. We could be missing like 30 or 40 tackles. But that's the thing. So yeah, it was good to see the fact that our defence was. I think for me the most important thing was our defending. Obviously our attack can get better and improve. We scored some great tries throughout this game as well, but obviously it's not clinical, not our best. But we still did enough, and we scored some great tries throughout this whole game as a whole there. So yeah, and GT, yeah, absolutely, GT. Good to see in the chat saying Tane brings that X factor. He certainly does. And look, I think Tane, how you can't keep him. How are you going to keep him out of the starting 17 altogether? And I know Dallon's going to be back real soon as well. So that's going to be really interesting to see what they do with Tane moving forward. But, man, Tane, you can't really keep him out of the 17 the way he's playing, right? He had a tough first game, no doubt about it, but that wasn't all his fault. But look, in this second game, he was outstanding. I thought he was outstanding throughout the whole entire match, to be quite honest. So, and I think the impact that Egan showed throughout this game, what he did from dummy half, especially, a lot of holes in that Manly defence, and he really exposed them as well. And he scored a very good try from dummy half after that, that breakout run, that breakout bust that he made to get them in that position. And then he scored as well, which was very fitting because I think he personally deserved to score that try, given he did all that work to get them down the other end and then set them up, and then he scores the try himself, which was awesome to see. And Egan was outstanding. I personally feel like this was Egan's best game in the Warriors jersey since last year. I think it was his best game in the Warriors jersey for a very long time. He's always had some good games for us, but last year, I think it was the opening first couple of weeks, there was a lot of excitement about Egan, how good he was going. Then, his form sort of slowed down. He had a few knocks as well and injuries, which really affected him. And then I felt like this game was probably his best performance that we've seen for quite a while, actually, in my opinion. So, yeah, just reading off the stats. So, Aaron Clark actually made 18 all runs and 150 all running meters for 58 post-contact meters. 17 hit-ups as well as 22 tackles made for Aaron Clark. Mitchell Barnett made 14 all runs, 120 all running meters for 47 post-contact meters and 13 tackle breaks as well. And then Tane Tuapiki, he made 14 all runs for 98 all running meters, 98 post-contact. It's actually 28 post-contact, 98 all running meters there for Tane, and one tackle break for one try with 9 tackle breaks as well. So, that's just brilliant from Tane. And then Luke Metcalf as well. Obviously, 85 all running meters, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists, and 1 tackle break as well. So for anyone who's out there doubting Luke Metcalf's performance in the 7 jersey after one game, well, I think they're completely wrong, and I think he needs to be given the time. I said it last week when we lost to the Raiders when I did my review for the Raiders game. And I think Metcalf just needs that time, and he is going to really step up. And I think he's going to play very well there for the whole season, in my opinion. So, yeah, 1 tackle break, 2 tries for Metcalf. Luke Metcalf was outstanding. And I love the absolute celebration that he did when he scored the try. The shushing emoji, the shushing celebration there. Silencing the doubters, silencing the critics as well. So, how good was that to see? And I think people need to really make sure they give him the time that he can definitely do the job there, I think. And it's not an easy position to fill, right? Shaun Johnson retiring there. That's not an easy shoes to fill in the 7 jersey. It's a famous 7 jersey. So, I think, with Metcalf, he's no doubt going to improve. He's going to get better. It's going to come with time. It's going to come with patience, and I think he can do the job. I just think that we're going to see what he can do for the next couple of weeks, especially for the rest of the season as a whole. There, so yeah, Jacko's saying here, Tane will be pushing Chance Klokstad hard. For fullback when Dylan Watini-Zelezniak returns. We need Tane's threat from the back. Yeah, absolutely, Jacko. I agree. He will be pushing really hard for Dylan Watini-Zelezniak's spot. And look, Dylan Watini-Zelezniak, of course, when he's not injured, he's going to come into the side. But in saying that, look, Tane keeps this up. It's going to be a real competition for that spot on the wing there. So yeah, I got to say, well, look, I absolutely agree on that one. And Jacko's saying it's Egan's best game since 2023. It definitely was. At the end of the day, Manly had a better list than ours, but we had the work ethic and the right attitude. We definitely did, Tay, and that's the thing. Look, we can't get too carried away with this win. It's one win and one loss, right? So I'm not going to get too overexcited. I'm not going to get too worked up because it's 1-1. So look, it's great. It's great to get the win. It's a great performance. But we've got to back it up against the Roosters. We've got to continue on and back that up against the Roosters, because if we don't, it's just going to be a bit of for me, a bit of a disappointment. But in saying that, we've always got a chance to bounce back the following week against the Tigers away. So hopefully we can back it up against the Roosters this week, which is going to be the main thing moving forward. And yeah, the halves still struggled, but they picked their moments. Yeah, I mean, and look, Manly really struggled once the likes of when you got Tommy Turbo coming off and DC coming off, that is a big blow for them moving forward. But look, in saying that, we limited their impact throughout this whole game. So their key players just could not get going. They could not get going. So look, it's just looking at it. Also, the fact that Wade Egan was stats with 1 try, 10 runs, 153 all running meters, 40 post contact meters, 1 line break assist, 2 tackle breaks, average play the ball speed of 4.86 seconds, 9 dummy half runs, 91 dummy half. Nine dummy half runs with 1 offload and 41 tackles made. So defensively, Wade Egan was very strong as well, and not just in attack. But yeah, 143 all running meters for Wade Egan was simply outstanding. And then Roger as well, with 17 all runs. He had 106 all running meters, 45 post contact, 1 line break, and 6 tackle breaks. So those are my standout players throughout the game. And my man of the match had to go to Wade Egan. I think Wade Egan for me deserves man of the match. It's closely followed by Luke Metcalf in second, and I thought Harris Tavita as well. A bit of a shout out to Harris Tavita actually. I think he hasn't been given enough credit for the way he played throughout this whole match as a whole. So yeah, big shout out to those players. And Egan for me was my man of the match for this particular clash against the Seagulls there. So yeah, so Tane needs to be our 10-year halfback, says Naz. And hello to Spider-Man. Need to pick up the pace. We lost it against Canberra because of that. So yeah. Jacko's also saying here, CHC man of the match for me. He did a lot of good things and ran hard. He definitely did. And his kicking was very good as well. Taupiki is a gun. Yep, he definitely is. Massive fan of Taupiki. I watched a lot of Tane through his Queensland Cup days at the Burleigh Bears here on the Gold Coast. So I know a lot of Tane. I've seen a lot of him play. And look, I was very excited when we signed him, right? So, he's such a talent. And look, I don't think he should be sitting in New South Wales Cup every week. I think he should be in that first grade side regularly each week we play. So, yeah, the thing is, though, Dylan Watini-Zelezniak, once he comes back, what does that mean? So, it's a real tough question to answer as to what you do with Tane. But Tane really, for me, has to be in first grade. He's got to be in there because he's such a good young talent. He's a gun. He's a great player. And, he's outstanding as well. So, yeah, so Tahi, bro, Brisbane lost to Canberra too, so we're in good company. Yeah, exactly right, Tahi, bro. It was a weekend of upsets for sure. Well, with the two results really. We've of course the Broncos losing to Canberra. Actually, no, it's three results because the Broncos losing to Canberra was an upset, and then the Warriors beating the Roosters, and then the Warriors beating the Seagulls, sorry, and then the Roosters beating the Panthers, which was a real shock as well. So quite a few surprises, and this is what I mean with the NRL. You know, the first couple of rounds, there can be some shocks. There can be some upsets. So yeah, I'm really just hoping that we can back it up this week against the Roosters. And guys, I will be doing a preview for the Roosters match tomorrow afternoon, so tune in for that one with Hainsey, super Sydney Roosters fan, NRL content creator. So yeah, he'll be coming on the channel tomorrow, and we're going to preview the Warriors Roosters. Also, I'm going to be live as well for my NRL tips for round 3. So I got 2 live streams tomorrow. So tune into that one if you can, or you can watch it back, of course, later on. So yeah, tune in to that one. But guys, make sure you're liking the stream as well. I know some people don't like the stream straight away, so make sure you do. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Like the stream, everyone, if you haven't done so already. And don't forget, if you are a new viewer or returning viewer to the channel and you haven't done so, make sure you're subscribing to the channel as well. And of course, big up to all the Warriors content creators as well. Big shout out to the Warriors content creators. What's up, Ash? And all the Warriors content creators out there, Warriorholic, everyone out there who's doing a great job with the stuff they do as well. So go and give them a follow. But please don't forget to follow this channel and subscribe, like the video, share the video as well. But we're going to wrap it up now. So the player ratings, I'll go through my player ratings and we'll wrap this up for the night. And then I'll be doing a live again later on at 10 p.m. New Zealand time. So tune in for that one later on. So yeah, I've got another live stream scheduled. So make sure you jump on, tune in for that one. But we'll start off with the player ratings now. So starting off with Chance Nicoll-Klokstad, CNK. So yeah, guys, my player ratings are just my overall thoughts and opinions on honestly how I rate the player out of 10. So a 6 is a pass mark, and of course a 9 and a 10 is the high rating as well. So put your rating into the live chat for each player and how you think the player performed on the day. So starting off with Chance Nicoll-Klokstad, CNK. Chance, I'm going to give him a 6.5 out of 10. I thought Chance was a lot better this week. Look, I thought it was a solid showing by Chance, especially. And he did. I think he did a great job. So yeah, I'll give Chance here a 6.5 out of 10 for my rating for his performance against the Seagulls. Now to Taine Tuapiki, man, just a brilliant performance all around. 14 carries, 100 plus meters. I'm going to give Taine here a 8 out of 10. Taine was just simply incredible. Ali Leotawa, and Leotawa was, I think he was a lot better from that first game, and I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. Adam Pompey, I'm going to give Adam Pompey here a solid 6.5 out of 10. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, RTS, basically, I think the only thing I could critique RTS on throughout this game was the 2 tries. The 1 try was the Tommy Trbojevic one, where he got caught out there. And then the Jason Saab try in the second half himself. But Roger scored a try as well. And he also played a hand with 167 all-running meters. So I'm going to give RTS here a 7. 7 out of 10 for me for Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, RTS. Now to the halves now. So we got Chanel Harris-Tavita in the 5'8" spot. And I think this was a lot better of a showing for Chanel. His kicking game was a lot more improved, I personally felt. Now, he scored our first try of the game as well. Pretty good bounce back defensively because, he missed a lot of tackles in that game against the Raiders, where, which was uncharacteristic from CHT. We know he's such a strong defender, especially. He's a really good defender, but he really did bounce back this week. Didn't miss a lot of tackles, and look, he played his part in attack as well with Lukey Metcalf. So I'll give Chanel here a 7.5 out of 10, and I thought it was a lot better of a performance from him. Luke Metcalf here, I'm going to give Luke Metcalf here a 7 out of 10. Great to see Luke, bounce back and silence a lot of the doubters and the critics who said he wasn't a 7. Look, for me, it was just great to see as well. He actually got 2 tries just throughout this game. And yeah, he was the one that set up the Ali Leotau try as well. So I'm going to give Luke Metcalf here a 7 out of 10 from me for this game. Now to James Fisher-Harris. James Fisher-Harris, he racked up 40 tackles, a solid 130 all running meters, 60 minutes as well. So they didn't muck around with his minutes this week, Webby. So good thing that Webby didn't muck around with the amount of minutes to the likes of Fisher-Harris and Barnett. And 6.5 out of 10 for me for James Fisher-Harris. It was good to see James Fisher-Harris, play in the Warriors colours at home for the very first time. And it's the same with the likes of Aaron Clark as well. So, yeah, it's great to see Fisher-Harris really putting in a big shift on the field. And then Wade Egan, man, I've got to say Wade Egan, man, just was a consistent threat throughout the whole game. Exposing the Manly in the middle, made a great breakthrough to put us in that position, like I said early on, where, he went on to score that try. And I'm going to give Wade Egan here an 8 out of 10. And Jacko's actually given a super sticker, $5 New Zealand super sticker. Jacko, thanks for that super chat. Really do appreciate the support as always. So, look, like I said there, Wade Egan was just, a menace, right? Menace throughout this game. Very good, solid, a very good performance, actually. More than solid and really impactful throughout this game. And he was my man of the match as well. So, Mitchell Barnett, I think for me, more. We got to see a lot more from, Mitch Barnett throughout this one. I felt like he was, back to, his best with a great effort there with 120 metres. 33 tackles all up for me. It was a 7 out of 10 for Mitchell Barnett. Kurt Capewell, I thought he had an okay game. Much better showing than round 1 for sure. He played a full 80 minutes, despite some concerns around a knee injury there, an arm injury. He made 34 tackles as well. So defensively, there was a lot more of an improvement from Capewell. But look, I do still feel like Jacob Blaven should be in this side altogether. So yeah, look, despite Capewell showing a lot better improvement, yeah, I'm still not sold on Capewell. Yeah, absolutely, Jacko. Still not too sure. But look, he was a lot better. Let's be fair. Let's give him some credit there. But yeah, I still personally feel like the likes of your Lavens and that should be in the starting side. But that's just what I think personally. Marata Niukore, speaking of a player that was under a bit of pressure after that round 1 performance, and he came out, showed a lot more of an intent. He was motivated. He was, wanting to prove a bit of a point after round 1. They proved a lot of critics wrong. But yeah, look, it was a lot more an improvement from Marata Niukore. Now, 10 carries, 80 metres, and no missed tackles. Look, I think it was solid without being great. So I'll give him a 6 out of 10, and actually did come off the field in the hour mark as well. So yeah, I'll give him a 6 for me there for Marata Niukore. And now to Aaron Clark. So Aaron Clark actually was our best forward on the night. And look, I think for me, it was an impressive showing in that starting lock position. Backing up his performance, I think for me, round 1, he was great. I really do feel he was great in round 1. although he was coming off the bench, and look, I felt like he should have started against the Raiders in Vegas, in all honesty. But Aaron Clark, for me, really did own that position, that 13 spot. Now, I know it's only his second game in that spot for the Warriors, but look, he really owned that position, and I think he did great. So, 149 all running meters, 22 tackles made. Oh, look, I can't say more about Aaron Clark. I think he was just brilliant all around. So, I'm going to give him an 8.5 out of 10 for me. So, yeah, just simply just our best forward on the night. And Tahi Bro saying, I must acknowledge Egan's excellent game. Yeah, it was simply immense, Egan. It was simply immense. But yeah, to Dylan Walker now. So Dylan Walker, guys. So apologies if I'm dragging this on, but Dylan Walker. So for me, I'll go with a 5 out of 10 for Dylan Walker. Look, I thought it was I thought his impact wasn't a lot for the 27 minutes he played. It was, look, I wouldn't say it was terrible at all, but I think from me, he did all right, right? He did all right, but he wasn't great for that 27 minutes. But yeah, look, I'll give him a 5 for me. But some people may disagree on that one, but I think for me, he gets a 5. There. Now to Jackson Ford. So Jackson Ford gets just looking at it, obviously, very poor performance in round 1 for me against the Raiders. But in this game, he actually had 11 runs for 111 meters. So 26 tackles, and he missed no tackles as well. And he just played for 33 minutes. So, look, I'll give Jackson Ford here a 5 out of 10. But, look, still not sold on him. I'm still not sold on Jackson Ford, to be quite honest. But, he wasn't as bad as he was in that round 1 clash. Demetric Valmoanga, I'm going to give him a solid 6.5 out of 10. And Lek Halisimo, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10 there. But, guys, that is it. That's my review for the game. Overall, I've got to say, it was just good to get the win. Didn't matter how much it came by, what margin. We're back to 1-1 now, so it's good to finally get that. It's good to get the monkey off the back, even though it's only 2 rounds in. We've got the Roosters this week. So, look, I do hope that we can really go into that game. The confidence is now there to get our second win of the season. Fingers crossed, but yeah, it was it was good to get the 2 points, and continue. May we back it up, and that's the most important thing. Hopefully, we can do that on Friday night this week. So. Yeah, but guys, I will be back again later on tonight at 10 p.m. New Zealand time. So for another live stream as well. That will be my 5 talking points, 5 things learned live stream, where I go through and give 5 points from the game that I take out. So tune in for that one. But yeah, if you can't tune in for that one live, do make sure you watch it back. Don't forget to give the stream a like, everyone. Click the thumbs up button. Share the stream as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are a new viewer or returning viewer and you haven't done so already. And again, I'd like to thank Sammy Hewitt for coming on for the first couple of minutes of the show. So big shout out to Sammy. It's good to have him on, and hopefully we can get him on, during the rest of the season, maybe over the next, couple of months if we can. But guys, that's it for me. Up the Wars, go the Warriors. Great win. Good to get the 2 points, and we'll see you guys all again real soon for another live. Like the video, like the stream. Please don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, share, do all the following. And we'll see you guys all soon for another live.